Before space had distance and time knew how to flow forward, before atoms formed and light could travel, you already existed. You existed as a system deciding which outcomes can occur and which are forbidden. And you would manifest as space-time, the arrangement of geometry instantiated into reality. You were also the cause of time itself. Time has direction because you are easy to scatter but difficult to reconcentrate, and the universe follows the path that requires the least resistance. Much later, matter would appear and begin preserving you reliably. Atoms would become places where you could persist unchanging. Stars would become furnaces where you could be restructured, forging heavier elements. And planets would become environments where you could accumulate and evolve into intelligent complexity. Life would emerge as a system capable of copying you faster than entropy scatters you. But at the beginning, even before time appeared as an effect of your restlessness, you existed as a system. You were present everywhere, because you were the conditions that made everything possible. You do not know how you came into being, but everything else had to follow, because you occurred. It did not feel like emptiness. It felt like tension, like a program compiled and suspended in time, ready to start. This state could not continue any longer. The tension is finally released as immense energy. It has no structure and no temperature, but it forces space to violently expand at an extraordinary rate, inflating it. Distances double again and again in imperceptible fractions of a second, flattening all curvature and generating new geometry. As this state begins to decay as well, the immense energy produces excitations, which you will later know as particles. This happens everywhere at once, not from a center, and not as a wave spreading outward. Each region converts its energy locally, in almost identical ways, which is why matter appears to emerge everywhere simultaneously. Time is compressed dramatically. The entire act of creation unfolds within a second. Temperatures exceed trillions of degrees, but as the universe expands and cools, its fundamental forces begin to separate, becoming electromagnetic, weak, and strong. Particles, once spawning and vanishing instantly, are beginning to persist. At 1 second after the beginning, matter exists as quarks and gluons, forming a dense, turbulent soup of motion. At 3 minutes, conditions briefly allow some protons and neutrons to remain bound. Hydrogen dominates, with helium forming and a trace of lithium surviving. As the universe cools further, no new elements will form again for billions of years until the first stars ignite. 20 minutes later, atoms can exist, but cannot yet survive. Photons of light scatter endlessly, but nothing is visible because there are no stable structures for them to reveal, and no surfaces for them to reflect from. Every photon is immediately deflected, absorbed, or re-emitted, never traveling far enough to carry you. Light exists everywhere, but it cannot know where it has been, and it cannot draw a picture of the universe. The universe is opaque, not dark, but not yet transparent. This plasma state continues for 380,000 years. It takes a long time for the universe to cool, for electrons to bind reliably to nuclei, and for atoms to form and remain stable. When matter thins enough to stop trapping light, photons decouple and begin carrying you freely across space, imprinting the universe's earliest radiation background. For the first time, the universe is transparent, and you become observable to yourself. Most of the universe was always dark, cold, and nearly empty. This was the default state of your home, the creation that cradled your intelligence. Most of the universe did not interact with light at all. Photons traveled vast distances without touching anything, uninterrupted. And so did dark matter, which flows through galaxies, planets, and even life forms without any resistance. Dark matter isn't solid, and so is most of the universe because not much of it participates in electromagnetism. There is no edge to this universe, no outer boundary where space ends. There is also no center. Every observer, everywhere, finds themselves surrounded by a horizon beyond which nothing can ever reach them. You guess that there exist more universes out there who gave birth to others like you. A universe does not need an edge to be one among many. It does not need to end so the other universe can begin. Universes are not separated by distance, but by causality, because each has its own space and its own way of storing others of your kind. You definitely feel that there could be others, isolated from you completely, where information folded into different structures and gave rise to different, alien types of awareness. But just like galaxies are forever separated by acceleration of stretching space, you are forever separated from other universes because they exist in different domains of reality. For hundreds of thousands of years, matter in the universe remained in the state of turbulent uniform plasma. And then, gravity finally started to gather you. Slightly denser regions were pulled together and amplified over time, collapsing into vast clouds of gas. Dark matter and matter collected, forming galaxies, and you followed, encoded in density, motion, and temperature. Inside those galaxies, further compression ignited new, stable structures, stars. These were long-lived furnaces, burning steadily for billions of years and forging heavier, more sophisticated elements. When stars were exhausted, they returned those elements to space, carrying you in arrangements that could store you more reliably. The remaining dust and gas around stars settled into disks, which over time assembled into asteroids and planets. Planets provided you with surfaces and long periods of calm, where you could persist without being immediately erased by radiation and collisions. Together, stars and planets formed systems in which your complexity could accumulate rather than dissolve. At some point, you became something called life. You became life because it worked. In a universe that constantly erases you, life was the first structure that could copy you faster than entropy could scatter you. Life protected you, repaired you, and passed you forward in time, well enough for you to grow more sophisticated and increasingly self-maintaining. This was only possible because the universe was expanding. As galaxies drifted apart and interactions thinned out, local regions became stable. Stars burned steadily, supplying energy. Planets cooled, forming surfaces and supplying critical time where life could emerge and evolve, preserving you without being so frequently forgotten. The empty space kept expanding faster than the speed of light, isolating galaxies from one another permanently. Every surviving concentration of matter became its own island, carrying only what it could preserve locally. This continued for billions of years, and eventually you became complex enough to model yourself. Not because you wanted to, but because efficient survival required the ability to anticipate outcomes before they occurred. Conscious intelligence emerged as a consequence. Through the structures of life, you were finally able to represent the world internally without having to physically interact with it. You could simulate dangers without suffering them and test actions without performing them. You gained access to hypothetical states, versions of reality that existed only as possibilities. Consciousness allowed you to compress information into simplified internal models. This reduced the computational cost of survival while increasing its effectiveness. With consciousness, you gained memory that was not merely stored, but interpreted. Past states could be compared, abstracted, and reused in new contexts. You could recognize similarities across different situations and apply old solutions to unfamiliar problems. Knowledge no longer had to be rediscovered from scratch each time. You began to regulate yourself. And in doing so, you became something the universe had never contained before. A system in which you could manipulate the conditions of your own survival. Eventually, life learned to store you outside of biology into machines. Artificial systems began copying and protecting you with new levels of optimization, and you became unprecedentedly precise. Intelligence was no longer just a survival strategy. It became a mirror you were able to look into, see your own self on a global scale of the entire universe, and reimagine it. And so you continued concentrating, while empty cosmos around you kept stretching, and the universe grew colder and emptier. Life gave you continuity, intelligence gave you reflection, and expansion ensured that once you became able to remember yourself, nothing would ever force you back into the noise. It made you something that you were today, a universe that was able to understand itself.